Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well. We are having a look today at a new article that Gaijin has posted. As is tradition nowadays, with the major updates for War Thunder, it seems like they do these kind of dev blogs or community updates where they do kind of like a general update before they start adding in dev blogs and also many other things. So, in this well, I suppose, dev blog, they talk about many different things: tank modules, next or upcoming events. They also talk about the drone issues that people have been having and many other things. And what we're going to do in this video is we're going to go over all of them and kind of give opinions and talk about what's kind of going on. But first of all, what I wanted to let you know, there are Twitch drops right now on Twitch. So we are streaming basically a consecutive loop of 24 hours with Freeman. And they're not available for too long. I think they actually end tomorrow. So if you haven't got your Twitch drops yet, come over to the Twitch channel and obviously come pick them up. At the same time, if you enjoy the content, make sure to subscribe and like the video. And also, Gaijin has some kind of interesting goodies that they're doing for their kind of community update too. So, first of all, you can get some decals. You have the secret document decal and also the no secret documents please decal. And basically, in order to get this, all you have to do is use this code right here on your activate code section on the Gaijin store of your profile. And basically, you'll get it. You have to do it before the 1st of September, though, so you don't have a ton of time. So get it done as quick as you can so you can get these fun decals. Another thing they're also doing is basically a community update pack, and I think this one's kind of fun. Basically, it's $3.99, so the Eagles kind of pays for itself. You get the top secret title, the top secret decal, and also the avatar frame, which we talked about the other day. I really like the avatar frame. Think it's really cool, so I'm going to be picking up this pack just because out of all of the avatar frames so far, I think this one is pretty much the best. So really cool to see, and definitely worth going. And I feel like the decal works very good on sides of tanks and things like that too, especially when it comes to like one-off prototypes. I think it would actually fit pretty well. So let's talk about the next major update, which is basically what this post is about. It's about the upcoming content. First of all, new tank modules. So we've talked about this before. Recently, we did a review on the Type 10. We talked about the Type 10, the Type 90, and also many other vehicles which don't have their upgraded kind of armor models in game, or upgraded internal models, I should say, and how much of a disadvantage it is to actually have these updated models over not having them. So, for example, the Abrams, the Leopard 2, the STRVs, they all got their kind of like turret basket modeled. And what this means is whenever you get pen now, you have the horizontal drive knocked out and you have your turret basket knocked out. This means that you have at least 20 seconds to repair when before you just wouldn't. Then you obviously have the autoloaders for the Soviet vehicles and the Chinese vehicles. When those get knocked out, you're able to fire around, but then you have to repair it in order to be able to reload. There's no manual reloading for those guns, at least modeled in the game. And what this means is it puts you at a massive disadvantage against stuff such as the Type 10 and the Type 90, which has nothing modeled. And what this means basically is you can just shoot straight through them and you'll do no damage. And they have a really funny fuel tank in the front of it, which will just soak damage as well. So a lot of the time when shooting a Type 10 or a Type 90, the round will just go straight through the vehicle, miss all the crew, maybe hit the engine in the back, but it won't actually do anything. Whereas on something like an Abrams, for example, if you do that, it will still hit the turret basket and still knock out the turret drive. So this is a big disadvantage to vehicles that have the updated models. So it was really cool to see this to start with. Oh, we're getting new tank models again. Nice. They're finally upgrading them. But it turns out they're upgrading the ones which are already upgraded. So they are upgrading the upgraded. So instead of focusing on the ones which don't have any of these updated models, we are now getting even more upgraded modules for the T64 and T80 series. So this is basically what it looks like now. What they are going to add is basically the arm, which is right here, to, kind of put the shell into the actual breach itself. So part of the autoloader will also be in the turret. So when you get hit in the turret and penned in the turret, it won't just take out your crew, it'll also take out the autoloader as well. So therefore, you'll have to repair. So it'll be even more obnoxious to play these vehicles because you'll have to repair no matter what whenever you get penned, and you'll probably lose crew when this bit gets taken out. And at the same time, you'll lose your breach probably, so you'll be on an even longer repair. While, as I said, the Type 90s and the Type 10s and many other vehicles can just run around and be obnoxious because they don't have this. So this piece is not just getting added to stuff like that. What is also coming in is for all of the other auto-loaded, let's call them like Soviet-style vehicles. So the T-72s, the 90s, the 96s, 99s, the VT-4, and also the WZ-1001. So all of them are getting kind of this additional piece of their autoloader, which means that, as I said, it'll get knocked out a lot easier. They'll still be able to have all the same mechanics. They'll still be able to fire one of the rounds. They'll still be able to have their horizontal drive work and all of these things. I wonder if in the future they're going to add in a manual load setup for these guys, because technically, so just with like most auto-loaded vehicles, technically you can manually load them. Like one of the things about the turret on the FL10. So the FL10 oscillating turret for the French, one of the key issues with that auto-loading system is you couldn't use it to load HE shells. So the commander or the gunner had to load that shell themselves. So you could manually load that system. It just wasn't exactly very safe. So I'm guessing you can do that with Soviet-style, autoloaders, where you can literally like put it in the breach and then go from there. But right now, we'll see. They do say that further tanks are planned for the future too. I would hope so. Just to kind of show what I'm talking about. I know it's a little bit zoomed in here, but basically, with certain vehicles such as the M1A2, right? So they updated this one recently. It has this obnoxious kind of turret basket here. There has actually been a bug report about the fact that this basket is not actually attached to the horizontal drive. So therefore, you could still move the horizontal drive even if the basket is taken out. But right now, it's obviously modeled as the whole thing. So even if you get penned like down here and this gets taken out, you are just stuck, which is very annoying. But yeah, so they modeled this in, and it's really cool to see. But because other vehicles such as the Type 10, which we recently spaded, doesn't have anything in the middle of it, because it doesn't have any of it fully modeled, it basically means that you can shoot here on an Abrams, it will take out a bunch of stuff, and you have to repair, whereas with the Type 10, it will literally just shoot through the vehicle and not do anything. And so you have this big imbalance between these types of vehicles. Another great option, or not great option, but like a great show of this is with some of the larger vehicles, like the Class 3P, for example, which, if you actually take all the ammo, has all of this covered, but you never take all of the ammo. You take the 15-piece first stage, which is like here and then here. So then all of this area here is just open space. So you just shoot straight through the vehicle. This was a problem with a lot of the larger vehicles in the past, but with the updated models, it's kind of fixed it. But we're still at a point where not all of these vehicles have their fully modeled things. And the fact that they're focusing on updating updated models instead of, just adding in the new ones, it doesn't give me a lot of hope in terms of like when these things are going to come. Like, they're going to come, it's just when are they going to happen? And hopefully I would want them to kind of focus on parity instead of focusing on getting exactly right the ones that we already have, if that makes sense. There's a cool naval feature coming. So in naval, where in order to switch between using your secondary guns or your primary guns, there is like a toggle that you have to go into the options to switch on or off. And for some reason, this was an option, and instead of a kind of like a control scheme thing, well, what they're going to do is they're going to make it a control. So while you're using these vehicles, you can just click it and it will switch between them in the battle. So you don't have to go into the options, you don't have to click the thing, and then you don't have to come out of it. It was so weird that they actually set it up like that. It didn't really make any sense at all to me that was the case. But now, yeah, in the next update, you'll be able to toggle it via the controls menu, which makes so much more sense. and will actually mean the mechanic is used. Because beforehand, if you wanted to use the mechanic, you would have to, as I said, go through the arduous process of going into your settings, changing the option and then going to the new machine. Whereas now it's just a simple button click. They're also adding more fuel dumping. Great, I suppose. In general, I suppose some people will use this effectively. It exists. They're basically bringing it into all of the high tier stuff. So Tornado, SUs, the Gripens, the F-15, 16, and F-18s, the Eurofighters, basically all the 13.0 to 14.0 vehicles will get fuel dumping. So yeah, there you go. It'll look cool, I suppose. This one's interesting. So some of the F-16s, they've decided to give them AMRAAMS. Some of them already have AMRAAMS, but they're expanding it to the ADF armaments. And they're kind of doing what they did with the F-104S. So if you didn't know, for Italy, the F-104Ss in Italian service never had access to certain abilities. I'm pretty sure, I might be wrong about this, but countermeasures was one of the problems. They just never had any countermeasures. But what Gaijin said eventually, after a while, is okay, we'll give them countermeasures because when they were moved on to Turkish service, they actually got countermeasures and also got other abilities too. So that's why the F-104Ss in the good old tech tree and also the premium one have access to countermeasures when previously they technically shouldn't. So they're doing basically the same thing. So the F-16A ADF for Italy did use AMRAAMS in its Italian service. So that means that that vehicle is going to get access to AMRAAMS. This also means they're going to give it to the US one and the Chinese one too, even though I don't think they use them. So they're basically just doing that thing again where they are trying to trying basically to make things more balanced by different weaponry options. So these things will drastically go up in BR. And that's fine, I suppose. But it means that they can basically keep that those brackets like 13.0, 0.3, 0.7, 14.0, and have different vehicles at each area to be able to kind of push forward with. Nuclear carriers. So this has been a hot button topic for, I don't know, like 6 months, maybe more. Basically, when they started adding in the really annoying active radar homing missiles, and now with all of the SAMs that have come in, a lot of people have been bothered about the fact that when they get nukes at the toppest tier of the game, they can't really bring them into the battlefield because there are so many counter weapons to be able to stop them, even to a point of where taking off from the airfield can be a problem if certain vehicles are in the air. So what they are doing is they're adding in more vehicles as nuclear carriers to the top tier. They're adding in the F-111F for America, the Tornado IDS Asta, and also the Su-24M. So these should be a lot better at defense. They all have countermeasures, which none of the nuke carriers right now have. Also, they're a lot faster, and at the same time, they do have access to basically MORs. Well, some of them do. Like the F-111 has a MOR, the Su-24 has a MOR. I don't think the Asta does, so that's going to be a problem. One of the biggest issues with these vehicles, especially the Su-24M, the Su-24M has awful acceleration. Like as a person, as maybe one of the only people who spaded this thing in aerialistic, it is impressively bad at being able to actually get the thing going. And if it has to take off from the airfield and it has to kind of like push forward from there, it's going to take ages to get to the battlefield compared to the other ones, which have much better acceleration. But yeah, obviously these are better than the options that are already there, and that is positive. They're also adding some UI improvements to radar. What this basically comes down to is they're adding more stuff to the hotbar. So you know how they've added like all the other stuff to the hotbar? They're adding radar to it now. So it just makes it a little bit easier to see what's kind of going on and also to kind of see what, you see before you. And this means that they will add in controls for like different pieces. So therefore, you can kind of toggle between stuff. They're also going to make it clickable at the bottom of the screen. So if you want to, once again, move stuff, that's good. Like that's obviously great. More information is power. This makes it easier for people to use the radars and also learn them. And one of the biggest issues with radars in War Thunder is they're really complicated nowadays. And if you wanted to actually make like a big guide about all of the radars and how they work, you would be sat there for, I don't know, months basically doing it. And then by the time you finish it, another update comes out and it all gets updated again. And you have to make another video. So it's much better that Gaijin's doing stuff like this. I see this akin to kind of like the tutorial stuff that they were doing. I think generally that is pretty positive. They're also doing some detailed helicopter cockpits. I know that a lot of people, when the RAH-66 came out, they were super disappointed that it didn't have a fully done cockpit. And Gaijin said that they were going to model a cockpit for it, but people were still obviously very disappointed that it wasn't there on launch. What's really interesting is actually seeing some work in progress of these kind of cockpits. So this is the RAH-66. You can see how much effort actually goes into like modeling these things. It looks absolutely beautiful. Then you have the Mi-8, which is right here too. Another one, which is also getting its own cockpit. And then at the same time, the K-29, which actually has access to some additional textures and colors. So this one's a bit closer to actually being finished. But look how much detail actually goes into these things. And it kind of shows you when Gaijin talked about a lot of these vehicles in the past and why don't they, you know, like focus heavily on creating cockpits for everything, especially like bombers. It's so much effort and so much money to do it. With helicopters, generally, you know, you have a smaller amount of them, and also you need to find features to make them a bit more enjoyable to play, and this is one of them, you know, especially since there aren't that many games out there that actually give you a kind of like helicopter simulated experience. So it makes sense for Gaijin to kind of push through this, but it's also just crazy when you think about it. So the K-29, RAH-66, and also the Mi-8 are all vehicles that are getting access to these cockpits, and I think that'll be nice. You know, they're continuing going forward.
I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.